Today we're going to be able to write an equation in point-slope form for the line with the given slope that contains the given point. So first thing we need to know is, what is this thing they call point-slope form? Well, here it is. It's right up next to that question, and it's y minus y1. So the difference of the y values equals the slope multiplied by the difference of the x values. Well, the next question you should ask is, where did this come from? Well, it comes from the slope formula. So remember, slope, we use the variable m. So again, do you remember why we use m for the slope? Well, it's because mountains have steepness, and steepness is slope. So that's where it came from. Well, when we're concerned about slope, we're concerned about how much we have to go up or down before we're concerned how much we have to go left or right. So that's why the y's are always on top, and we put the x values on the bottom. And so there's our slope formula. We've seen that before. So what we did to come up with this is we took that denominator of x minus x1 and we multiplied by it to cancel it out, to make it so we don't have that fraction anymore. But what we did to one side, we had to do the same thing to the other side. So we took that x minus x1 and multiplied it by the m, the slope. And so what we've got left is we've got this y minus y1, and it equals the slope times by the difference of the x values. So that's the product here, and it equals y minus y1. Well, I just have this backwards. I have it with the y minus 1 last, and you could always put it first. We could go ahead and rewrite it just as it is up above. So that's called the reflexive property, when you go ahead and turn an equation the other way. You took the stuff on the right-hand side, and we brought it over to the left. We take the stuff on the left-hand side, bring it over to the right. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the directions that we'll see for the first part. I read them off earlier, but the key to remember is what they're asking us to put this in, what form. They want it in the point-slope form. The other set of directions is going to look very similar to this, but it's going to ask us to put it in a different form. So this is the point-slope form. Point-slope form is when we're just going to substitute the numbers into the equation, and that's it. You're not going to go any further except maybe changing some signs around. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we need to substitute. Here's our slope, negative 4. We're going to put that in place of m. We're going to take the 1, we're going to put that in place of x1. It always goes in for the x value that has a subscript. So subscript 1 there. The 5 goes in for the y1. So from there, we can go ahead and rewrite what we've got. We've got a y minus, and then I put the 5 in place of the y1, equals m, but instead of m, we're going to write negative 4. And then I just write x minus, and then in place of x1, we put 1. And that's it. That is the equation in the point-slope form. You don't have to do anything else except just substitute the numbers. So let's take a look at another example. This one's a little different because the point has a negative value in there. So this is 2/9 is what it says. So we'll go ahead and rewrite our point-slope form. First we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That's our point-slope form. And then we're going to take the values that were given, the 2/9, that's going to go in place of m. We're going to take this negative 1, that's our x value, that goes in place of x1. 5, it's the y value, that goes in place of y1. So we're going to go ahead and do that substitution, and this is what we've got. Y minus 5 equals 2/9 times by x minus negative 1. Well, when we have the negative, the minus negative, we could change that just to a plus positive. And we're going to want to do that before we do any multiplication. And so that's as far as we're going to take the problem. We're going to just rewrite that as y minus 5 equals 2/9 times by x plus 1. So when you see a minus negative, just going to change that to a add the opposite. You're going to change to plus positive. And that will be our answer. So here's another one. We can go ahead and rewrite our point-slope formula, which would be y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And so we're just going to take our values and substitute them into the equation. So negative 2, that's our slope. That goes in place of m. 2, that's our x value. That goes in place of x1. Negative 3, that's our y value. That goes in place of y1. So we'll go ahead and rewrite what we've got here. So rewrite this as y minus, and then it's negative 3 equals the slope, negative 2 times x minus the x1 value, which is just 2. And so remember, just as I had done before, whenever you substitute and you have a minus negative, change that to plus positive. And then we can go ahead and rewrite what we've got. So we'll just write that as y plus 3 equals negative 2 times by the difference of x and 2. And that would be our answer. Well, one last problem to try, and this one has two negative values for the components of the ordered pair. So again, we'll just start by rewriting our problem. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And we're going to go ahead and do some substitution. So we'll take this negative 1/2, that goes in place of m. The negative 4 is the x value, that goes in place of x1. Negative 5 is the y value, goes in place of y1. So we go ahead and do the substitution. This is what we would have. Y minus negative 5 equals negative 1/2 times by x minus negative 4. And so from there, again, whenever you see that minus negative, always change that to and add the opposite, plus positive, plus positive. And so from there, we can just rewrite our point-slope form with it a little bit simplified, less pin strokes. Minus negatives is the same thing as plus positives. So y minus negative 5, same as y plus 5. And that equals negative 1/2 times by the sum now of x plus 4. And there's our answer. So those are problems where they ask us to put it in point-slope form. The next set of directions is going to ask us to put it in slope-intercept form. We'll see that in part 2.